Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Coalition supports women's economic security, and the Coalition has always supported women's economic security. When we were in government, we delivered more than $5.5 billion in funding for women through our women's budget statements, and our policies boosted workforce participation to record levels, reduced the gender pay gap and empowered more women to run their own businesses. And that's really important because that's income. And we continue to support the closing of the gender pay gap. We welcomed the first annual release of gender pay gap data from Corporate Australia this year from the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, and we put corporates on notice. They need to be doing more than just talking the talk, and we don't need to see more morning teas and cupcakes with pink icing. What we need is real policies to promote and support women across Australia. They were happy to spend time and money on social policies such as The Voice, that is those opposite, the Voice campaign, but are they willing to do the same to reduce the gender pay gap for good? And it's so important that we not only close the gender pay gap, but that we also close the superannuation gap. And far too many women are being left behind, Madam Deputy Speaker, with less in their superannuation balances in retirement when compared to their male counterparts. And we hear it time and time and time again. It's women aged 55 and over, which is my age, so this is very confronting for many women in this place who are in this age bracket, because we are the fastest growing cohort of homeless Australians. And that's scary. If your relationship breaks down and you have a marriage breakup and then there's legal proceedings, women in this age group are finding themselves with insecure housing, and it's so real for those who are struggling with cost of living pressures right now, and they're paying ridiculous rents under this government's watch, and they're paying ridiculous amounts of money and watching their lifestyles go backwards under this Prime Minister. The Coalition supports the principle of super on government-funded paid parental leave. We did support that principle. We have a strong record in supporting women's economic security, and it's important to note that Labor is 14 years late to this policy. The Coalition actually took paid parental leave policies to the 2010 and 2013 elections, which included paying superannuation on government-funded paid parental leave, only for it to be opposed by those opposite and their political partners, the Greens. We extended PPL in government, and we are working to improve the government's current proposal to extend its recent extension to 26 weeks. And while this does help support women and families in the long run, it doesn't help families struggling with the cost of living pressure right now. Let's be real, superannuation is important, but increasing home ownership is critical to boost the economic security of women, because we know that the key to economic security is housing security with no or little mortgage payments in your retirement years. So when you're heading towards that 60 and 65 mark, that is when you should be able to gear up the rest of your life so that you have secure housing and you're not paying huge rent to a landlord. And that's why we believe so much on this side in home ownership. In fact, we have a Shadow Minister for home ownership. We believe that Australians should be able to use their superannuation to draw down on a deposit to buy their own home, which is the biggest purchase that they will make in their lifetime. Now, with growing figures of older women finding themselves homeless, home ownership really in retirement has never been more important, and I can't stress this point enough. But we do want to see stronger action taken on women's safety, and this is something that the Coalition indeed was focused on in government, and we have repeatedly expressed our commitment to combating the scourge of domestic violence in this country. Too many women have been killed as a result of violence in 2024, and too many others assaulted. One is too many. It must come to an end. And I've spoken about this before in this place and demanded that it come to an end. The numbers are going in the wrong direction and immediate action is required. And we need government to actually deliver on the promises they make, particularly when it comes to the safety of women and children. And it's not good enough that this Labor government committed to 500 frontline services and community workers to support those experiencing family and domestic violence almost 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and have failed to deliver on that commitment. In the Prime Minister's own state of New South Wales, there are only 30 workers on the ground out of the 148 that he promised. So again, we see broken promises from this Prime Minister.